channel.
Okay. The whole thing, or just like?
The whole thing. I will go on the YouTube channel for the zine. I might have to cut some stuff down if we go too long. But yeah.
Okay, bet. So this would be the whole thing.
Oh
I have everything rolling. Whenever you guys want to get started,
All right. All right. So who are you all?
We are safe space.
Safe space.
Safe space.
We are Safe Space.
All right. And what are you guys' names?
I'm AJ Williams.
I'm Joey Denton.
I'm John Denton, and AKA Johnny Dice. And over here we've got.
Yo, this is Grant Walters, aka G Walt.
Nice.
Us two do vocals. This is my brother, he plays bass. And this is AJ, who does turntables and all the techiness.
Everything back here, basically.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
We're missing a drummer, and our guitarist is on tour with another band. So, shout out to him. Shout out to Hemlock.
We're down in Georgia, hitting the road, touring, living the lifestyle, and we're not slowing down anytime, so
No.
Nice.
we're keeping the train rolling here too.
All right.
So yeah, that means for him that, we're pretty about other people's, push beyond this band, any kind of recognition we can get, even just from solo acts, the better. So to anybody out there who thinks that takes away from the main entity, I completely disagree. You all need your own thing that you actually, can create your own individuality, as opposed to, because then when it comes together, that it's more of a
Yeah.
bigger picture.
Nice. And how did Safe Space form?
So I lived in Minneapolis, and I moved down here for the pandemic, and then
Also COVID.
yeah, and we had to quarantine for a month, and I was like, I'm either gonna finally learn bass, or I'm gonna be really good at video games at the end of this. And I chose to learn bass, and I knew John was already he was already doing his rapping stuff, but he's always wanted to be in a metal band, and we knew a lot of guitarists, we knew a lot of drummers, and we're just like, we need a bassist. And I was like, I'm gonna learn bass because I've always wanted to, and then as soon as that happened, we were playing around. I was playing around with some System of a Down, and then I came up with a lick that turned out to be Amethyst. All the riffs for Amethyst came in like one day, and then John was like, "Oh, what is this?" And then for I don't know, 3 hours, we just basically wrote this entire song, and then took it to our producer Reed, and
Reed Warman.
Yep, Reed Warman Music, shout out. And then we started taking Wizard Reed, and then so we had one song done, and then basically we were like, well, let's just keep making more songs. And then about 3 months later, we found Grant.
Yeah.
John and Grant have already been doing songs together, and then basically
He was just as into metal as I was, so it just felt like a perfect combination.
And then we got the idea of doing a duo vocalist after seeing a show of Dropout Kings, actually. And so we're like, this is exactly what we want to do. Rap, screaming, singing, we want all that stuff. And then,
Bridge that gap.
yep.
We all, the first band that we all loved was Linkin Park,
Mhm.
and so that was just kind of a natural push for us to try and emulate them in some way.
Yeah.
And it's actually probably our number one reference. The people who listen to us are like, "Oh, you guys are like a heavier Linkin Park."
Yeah.
And I will take that
Yeah,
compliment
that's
till the day I
perfect.
die. So.
So then we knew Ryan from high school and from music, and so we reached out to him. He's like, "Oh, I'd love to play," and then we needed a guitarist. So then I reached out on Facebook if anybody wants to play in this project, and then we had Spencer Ross reach out right away. He came in. He already knew Noah's Ark before he even walked in, and we're like, "This is our guy," and he started with us, and he was a huge influence of us becoming a huge live show, and
We
then,
never played live before.
Yep.
But luckily Spencer had.
Yeah, he's
And
used all of his experience to teach us like how the
Audio.
sound and all this stuff, and like how to play. And then basically
we
once he
brought
came
the
in,
visual aspect.
yeah, when he came in, then we were like, all right, we have a band now. We didn't have a name yet, and then I mean, John has the origin of the name. But yeah, you can talk about that.
I mean, to me, the band name just comes from, it's a safe space for me to get out all my negative emotions,
Yeah.
or a safe space to express myself.
Yeah.
And it's just ironic that our live shows are not a safe space. So
Yeah.
it just works completely out of a complete irony, you know.
You let it all
I just-
out.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
You let it out on stage. You come out to the live show. You know, just you can play on the radio all you want. When you come to a live show,
See it.
you come out there and let it out.
Right.
People want to get in that mosh pit. They want.
People have no
Yeah.
idea what kind of release it really is. You know, even just from our end, like that's what's I feel like different from us than most groups is we literally will go up there and do it for us and go in do it just regardless of who's watching.
Yeah.
We do it the same way every time because it just comes out of us naturally, as opposed to some people feed off the crowd energy.
Yeah.
We prefer to create that energy.
Yeah.
Manifest it.
Right.
You've released a few singles that are actually pretty damn good.
Thanks, man.
No problem. I didn't mean that in like a derogatory kind of way with that actually, but like it's good to see like bands out here like putting out really good stuff. Even if it's not stuff that I've like super listened to, like new metal I'm not super into, but listening to that stuff I can definitely get into that.
Right.
When can we expect a EP or LP from you all?
Actually, we're working on the first album, which will be about 9 songs, and that is called Human Nature. And we haven't had a release date yet. We're hoping sometime in the spring and summer. And then the main origin of it is to kind of compare like what it's like to be for our mental sake, and then also like that our Earth is needing a lot of help.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's
And
Grant's kind of the main head on the album comparison.
Dive in on that, Grant?
Yeah, so we're working on our first studio record right now, and the title of it is called Human Nature. And it's all about raising awareness of our planet's current state of kind of going down a downward spiral, just in terms of like
Take a swig of that.
climate change and pollution, and just how we all need to play our part into trying to save our planet for future generations. And we're also tying in specific natural disasters with specific issues of human psychology and sociology. So, for example, like tidal wave is all about depression, and earthquake is all about anxiety, which is actually, we named the song Fractured, which is our last single. And the record is coming together really well, and kind of like John was saying, it's a great avenue for us to also deal with our own demons on the inside, and we hope that translates to other people to find a healthy way to express yourself and hopefully get down to the record and spread a message of positive change for our world that is definitely declining.
Facts.
Well said.
Yeah. And another question I have for y'all. At the beginning of this interview, when I asked you how CSC was born, you mentioned the song Amethyst. How instrumental was that to the formation of the band and kind of the idea of it?
Well, that's just the style of music that we liked at the time, and then also like that was our biggest thing, easiest thing to talk about was like being an addict, or like being like that you needed something to get you going, you needed something to like push yourself even when it's bad for you or stuff like that. And everybody has people in their life, or whether it's yourself or the other people, that addiction is a hard thing to do and a hard thing to get over. And like that was when you talk about like something in the pandemic, that was something that was big to us because it's like now you're really gonna find out what it's hard to when you don't have your
Issues.
normal life anymore. You're gonna find out you're gonna get some issues and you're gonna be addicted to things and
You're quarantined to your home.
Right.
All you have is your own habits.
Everyone can relate to it.
right.
Right. Everybody knows. Even if you don't struggle yourself, you definitely know someone who does.
Right. So that was always a huge topic for us, and we're definitely gonna have more songs about it.
Yeah.
And then so like that's just a huge topic that we're always gonna be talking about because safe space is always about like being open and being able to speak your mind and not be judged, and that's what the reason why we love being in a metal band is like there's a lot of people that have issues that come to the show or like they have a bad week or they have a bad day, and like my main goal for this whole band is that you come to our show and then you leave happier than you came in. You feel like you dove in, you put all of your energy in,
Emotions out,
yeah, just let it all out
honestly.
there, and then you can leave feeling better and being ready to go for life when you get out of our venue, and that's
You
the
see
whole
all
point.
the other people who, struggle and love music. But in reality, that's the only thing that's bringing us all together in that current moment.
Yeah.
Even though we're all completely different, we come from different backgrounds and are there for different bands, it's kind of irrelevant once you are all listening to what we're trying to portray. And I love it when we play because I feel like we have everyone's attention. And for a long time, I've struggled not having like a platform to speak my mind, and now that I have that,
Yeah,
it
you use
kinda
the music
changes.
as an outlet.
Right.
Yep.
It changes how you perceive the world. And so that's where that first EP, album name is called Give Me an Eye. One, because of Iowa Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Yeah, go Hawks.
Hawks?
Let's go Hawks. Let's go Hawks. And then, to me, it means like give me an eye, like give me a perspective on our current time and situation. And like Joey said, this started due to COVID, basically. So we basically took that perspective of that time during COVID, like what's the biggest issues wrong with our society right now.
And what are we gonna do with it?
Right. And so the black to me is about the internet and like how that changed how everything is perceived. And then two, this amethyst is all about substance abuse. It actually to me is, from a lyrical standpoint, a letter to alcoholism, to never let it control my life.
Yeah.
Is basically like my grand scale thought process when I first started the song. And then if you listen to the lyrics, you can kind of tell that like I'm basically talking to alcohol.
Yeah.
You know, calling it toxic. Like people are gonna make a comparison that I'm like, but it is a comparison to, you taking in these toxins, you're also taking in people who are just as toxic. Even though I didn't necessarily mean that when I made it, but now I have more context to the song because people have told me, they can feel it from a personal standpoint, not only from a substance. So that's when I knew I was like, what I'm writing can be more impactful than just like literally deliberately what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So then True Colors is about relationships, and then because I feel like we're all kind of struggling in that realm, like especially my generation.
Yeah.
And then Noah's Ark is basically like the political end. Like I've never felt more in a time where like politics is just shoved into your face.
Yeah.
And I feel like, it's purposely doing that to create more division. And I think we need to be thinking more consciously about like what is being projected to us by our government and what, in reality you should just worry about yourself, and music is the only thing that really like when I go to a show, that nobody gives a fuck what your political stance is.
Yeah.
And nobody's asking you what it is.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Not a question you're ever asked.
Right. So that's
All
where,
about music.
right. Music is one thing that it doesn't
No
matter
religion.
ever.
Yep.
You know.
No race, no religion, no hate.
Right. And then no plastic is basically, right.
Yep.
And no plastic is basically, you know, all these people are going for fame and glamour and money, and that is like the least of our worries.
Yeah.
So we kind of think that shit is literally the power, like the power of all evil. So it's nice to have a bunch of guys who literally make music just for the passion of it. So
Yeah.
so like every song is just kind of like, even though at first it was just the 5 best songs that we had,
Yeah.
it turned into like a perception of what is going on at the time.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how we write. And like I said, it's Safe Space is like an outlet for me to get that energy out. And Grant and I are very similar people, so it's nice to have somebody who is on
Well,
the
I
same
mean, we all are.
wavelength. Right.
That's why we all work so well together as a band. Like,
Right.
I mean, we all have similar interests and similar likes. We all go to the gym. Everybody.
Disc golf.
Yeah, we all disc golf. We all have, almost the same music taste, almost to the T. Like, there's
Right.
not as we're in a group chat and we just constantly, we're sharing music always, and
Right.
there's never a song that someone's like, oh, that sucked.
Yeah.
It's always
Right.
good shit
Yeah.
every time. We all there's no ego. There's nobody butting heads. Everybody here, we all love everything. Like,
Right.
It's the same passion. We all have that
The
same.
only drama we
path.
ever had was because we care so much about our music.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you have a bunch of people who
We
care
just
too
all want
much.
more.
You know, too much in
Someone
the,
wants
too
more
many.
of it.
Yeah, too many cooks in the kitchen sometimes. So, and that's not a problem to me.
Right, absolutely.
To me, that's
every great band's
an
like that.
asset.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you just gotta learn to communicate. That's the number one thing.
Nice. Yeah. And do you have any hopes for the Iowa scene at the moment?
Nothing but hope. Honestly.
I think the Iowa music scene is one of the biggest in the area, honestly. Minneapolis is pretty great, Omaha is pretty good too, but when you think of the hard-working bands, Iowa just outshines everybody.
Yeah.
Slipknot
I feel
came
like
out of
we
Iowa,
have
one
a
of the biggest bands.
Yeah, I feel like we have a bigger local, like, standout as opposed to like Minneapolis or Omaha. They get so many touring bands
Yep.
that people would rather just go to shows that are bigger anyway.
Yeah.
The fan
Meanwhile,
base.
right, in Des Moines you get kind of, screwed over by some of the national acts who don't come through to Iowa.
Yeah.
So it forces you to be like, all right, well, then we're gonna have to create our own shows then.
Yep.
People aren't gonna come
Time to
here.
manifest our own stuff.
Right.
Time to step up and make our own shows.
Right.
And Iowa scene does not lack. Like they bring it. All the bands.
Right.
We got a little list of some of our favorite bands over there on the table that
We'll
recently.
buy your CD. Like,
Yeah. If you're hard working and you're good,
Right.
it's.
And that's
no short
another
of that.
thing too. Is that's what I want to see more of. Is people buying other local groups stuff and really actually
Support the scene.
supporting. Because it's one thing to show up to a show, and a whole other thing to actually take it in, non-biasly, and show up and support your friends.
Yeah.
Buy their merch.
Yeah. Definitely do that.
Right.
So like, John and I, well, AJ's been in the scene for quite a bit, and then
Yeah.
John and I are new to the scene. Everybody else is new to the scene, and what I've noticed is like it's so easy to get people to do shows.
Yeah.
So easy for everybody to want to support people, and like we just did an Elysian EP release, and like A, we were like, yes, hands down, we're doing it, and then B, it just really didn't like take a whole lot of time to find 3 more bands to do it.
Yep.
Like they were just like, yeah, we're gonna support this band. Like I don't care. We don't care if we're not headlining it. It's just like we want to be there for this band that is just starting their EP, and that says a lot. And the place showed out. Shout out to Gaslamp. Like that was such a amazing turnout for that show, and I was just like, it just shows that a group that didn't even have music out that day yet, like still people showed up and Like it was just an amazing experience, and it's gonna keep going like that. I think everything's gonna keep building. That's what makes us very excited about, especially Des Moines, but also just like the Quad Cities are always just packed with shows, and like that everybody's just gonna keep better and better and bigger, and it's just like we're very excited for what's next.
I hope people realize that's our goal as well. Like, as much as, you know, our whole goal is to bring basically Des Moines on the map. Even
Yep.
though, you know, Slipknot already has, and even though there's plenty of artists that have already broken the scene for us.
Yep.
But as far as I'm concerned, we're only 2 years in,
Oh yeah.
and we've got people asking us to play on shows.
And there's a
And
lot of
that's-
big bands coming in and coming out of Iowa. I mean, there's
Right.
so many bands. I could sit here and plug them all, but I'd forget some. You know, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
do that.
Right.
But yeah, there's just so many good things. Like we use it as motivation and fuel to, you know, push ourselves, you know, keep going.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just, you know, we're always thinking about the future as well. And, you know, my brother, he takes care of kids, and I've worked in education. He's got kids.
Yep.
Grant has a kid. Like, that's another viewpoint that we have too. Is like,
Yeah.
we're not just, you know, just trying to rock our own socks off. Like, we're thinking about, you know, what people really need in their lives.
Yeah.
And I think that eventually that part of what we do will showcase. Because it's crazy, you know, even kids listen to our music and they love it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So even that just shows right there that there's just
Got
an
good
energy
vibe,
to it.
good
That,
tune.
right,
I can relate to it.
right.
Yeah.
And so we kind of always try and keep that in mind when we write. Because at the end of the day, that's who's probably going to take inspiration in what we're doing.
Yeah.
My favorite thing is you gotta keep it real, you gotta keep it fun, and you gotta keep it real fun.
Yeah. All right.
There it is.
That's a shirt.
That's our
Yeah.
motto.
Yep.
And is there anything else you'd like to say?
Grant, you have anything?
Yeah, I'd love to say something I got to thinking about when we were talking about is one of the beautiful things of the arts of music is that when we first write a song, you feel a certain type of way and you write it with a specific intent in mind, and then you start playing it live, and then your lives continue to evolve, and then those songs end up turning into double meanings, or just, you know, the meaning of that song can just, you know, multiply throughout your life. And definitely with Amethyst, it's been kind of cool because we wrote that song when I was kind of struggling with alcohol, and I'm getting close to almost 2 years alcohol free, and it's super awesome just watching songs evolve farther than you thought they ever would, and we hope they can help other people, man.
Nice.
Oh yeah. And that's a perk of approaching songs with sentiment.
Yeah.
Music is magic.
Right. Because at the end of the day, some people don't do music for the sentiment,
Yeah.
and that's a hard thing for us to kind of get around. Because as much as, I mean, we're hardcore metalheads too. You know, we love intensity, we love the instrumentation, you know.
Yeah.
But I think that's what kind of puts our music above everybody else. And it's like we're bringing it to a sentimental value, but also the instrumentation, the music behind it is our number one focus.
Yeah.
If the music isn't good, it's not going to capture people's attention, and it's kind of pointless. Like,
Yeah.
because then people aren't going to really relate or listen to what we have to say, because they're already judging, you know, based on our music, which is fun because that's what music is. It's completely subjective. But my goal with this, especially with this interview, is for people to really dive in more
Yeah.
than just the surface level.
Nice. And before we wrap things up here, I believe you had a few images you wanted to show us on paper for shirt designs.
Oh yeah.
All right, minded.
So like we said, we're working on an album, which
Some merch
has some
ideas.
crazy cool cover arts and stuff too to begin with, which we're super hyped to let the world see. But we're also working on a new merch line, and now that we've added a whole new artist to our group, he's created a lot of these images that we're going to turn into clothing items eventually.
Some way, somehow.
So when the album comes out, we're going to have a whole new merch line as
Yeah.
well. And
Some of these
such a great asset having
Yeah.
people like that who, you know, and that's, I want more of that too, just because you're not involved with Safe Space necessarily doesn't mean that you can't create stuff like this for us and you won't, you know, share it and, you know, try and, any artist in the area who wants to collaborate, like, we can find a way to make
Oh,
it
yeah.
work.
Yep.
Right.
All about
And
that.
hey, I'm not sure if you guys can see this very well, but we do have some new Safe Space hats.
Oh yeah, I'm wearing one too.
Yeah.
This is the symbol of our first EP, Give Me an Eye. And then we got the big Safe Space font on the side. They're pretty sweet.
The OG, the first of the first.
Yep.
Yeah,
Some people like that.
yeah.
So yeah, that's, you know, expect a new album here soon, new merch, and we've actually got some really big shows lined up as well.
Yeah,
So
we got 2 of them coming out. So talk about those 2 coming out.
So we have the boy bands versus the breakdowns, right? And then
yeah, somehow we got catered into the boy
Slotted
bands.
on the boy band. I actually have a homie beating my back right now saying that, oh, you're a boy band? I don't think I can be your buddy anymore. So thanks for that.
Yeah.
Thanks for that
we must be good looking enough
Yeah,
to be a
it's 'cause we're
boy
all
band.
good looking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're 65, we're fresh.
And then so that's on April 1st out in Adel. It's a house party that's like that we did this summer, and it was one of my favorite experiences we've ever had so far. The place
Hopefully.
goes nuts, and
Yeah.
like I can't wait.
Fall.
Yeah, I can't wait for
Window,
this.
yeah.
And then May 1st we open for Head PE, who's I've been idolizing for a long time.
Yeah.
They're at- they're
the
at
fact
Lefties.
that we get to open for them is such a huge honor, and like I can't wait for that show. So like it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Their last show at Lefties was probably the
Okay.
most people I've ever seen
Yeah.
at Lefties.
If it
so
wasn't
it's
sold
nice
out,
to-
I don't know.
Yeah.
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 It was elbow to elbow.
Yeah.
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 All
So
right.
that one will be fun.
Yeah.
So April 1st and May
May
1st.
Nice. Now that's all. I think we'll end it here, except for one more thing I do want to mention. Please, please buy their merch. They do a lot. They work very hard. Any band you see out in Iowa, buy their merch. They are working very hard to try to create a scene in Iowa, which, frankly, as far as I know, didn't really have one, or really a very large one, to my knowledge. And it's getting a lot bigger, and I'm really happy to see that. That's only because of the hard work that they're putting in. Go buy their merch, buy Torian's Band merch, buy all of the merch you can afford, spend all of your paycheck on merch, do everything that you can to buy as much merch as possible and to support all of the local bands as much as possible. And if that's all, I think we'll get better.
Perfect. Couldn't have did any better.
I do gotta head out here pretty quick and go into the downtown thing for the